It's springtime, damn it! And I'm all for it. More hours of daylight, nice weather, can be outside, but I've been dealing with some tuning issues. This happens a lot when the weather changes, and in this video, I'm going to give you tips I've learned over my 30 years of playing guitar. Simple, non-invasive stuff that you can do to get your guitar to stay in tune, to get the action right, intonation. And these aren't things to be scared of. These are very simple things using stuff you even have laying around the house to get your guitar in proper form. These are going to help you out in a big way and make you feel like a better player as well. The first thing you're going to want to do for this spring refresh of your guitar is take the strings off. I like to do this anyway in the spring because after a long winter, it's nice to get some new strings on there and feel inspired and playing fresh. But all of this work that we're going to talk about, these simple things, are still going to be much easier if you take the strings off of your guitar. In some cases, you can do it with the strings on, but you got to loosen them up anyway. Might as well take them off, get some new strings on there. One issue I was having was after 30 years of playing guitar with nines on both my guitars, I went down to eights on both. And the telly is fine. This guitar felt fine for a while, but I was noticing that I was having more tuning issues. Now, whether that's because this guitar spent its whole life with nines on, or just that's what it wanted, this guitar wants. I feel like guitars want certain strings and want certain action. They do better with those things. And I'm also pretty heavy-handed on this guitar for eights. That's a part of it too. The way I bend, sometimes I play really percussively, and this guitar didn't do great with eights. So we went back up to nines, and one of the issues that I was noticing was my nut slot. The slots in my nut had some buildup or needed filed down. They get like these little ridges or nibs in there. I find that the G string gets them worse. We like to bend the G a lot. Maybe that's part of it. But there's a tool for it. You can get these on Amazon. They're great. This is a nut file. And let me show you. There's all different sizes, all the way from a very thin, like basically like a 9-gauge string. It's bent a little there, you can see. All the way up to thicker. There's the thinnest one, actually. All the way up to thicker ones that you can use on a bass guitar like this. And you just need to get down in there, take your string off, and file it down. And one of the ways that you can tell if you're having a problem with this is put your guitar, if you've got tools to record, put your headphones on, tune your guitar up, and if it sounds like a rubber band, like you're pulling back a rubber band and it's popping as you're tuning, these are those little nibs causing resistance, and as it reaches a certain tension, it's popping and it's making your guitar go out of tune, actually. The string gets hung up when you do your bends. It causes a lot of problems. And all you have to do, you have to be careful with these things. Just be aware that you're working with a delicate object. A guitar is a very delicate thing when it comes to tuning. So I'll take and I'll even go in like a U shape down in the nut slot, back and forth, and you'll see the dust from the nut on your fingerboard, especially if you have a dark fingerboard like rosewood. You'll see that dust on there, and do it, do it to where a few minutes to where you feel like it's filed down enough where there's going to be no resistance in there. Then plug the guitar back in, put the headphones back on, tune it back up, see if you still have that popping sound, and get it to where that's very minimal or none of that tension, that popping and release rubber band sound on the guitar. And you're going to be in great shape. You're going to find that the guitar is going to stay in tune much better. Now, another thing that happens a lot with Gibsons, if you look on the tuners, these screws, they get very stripped out. The wood on the headstock gets very worn down and it needs filled in. And I find that using a toothpick works a lot better than using something like wood filler. You're just going to take the toothpick, go right down in the hole, use the pointed end of the toothpick because that's going to match up with the pointed end of the screw. You can sometimes do this leaving the tuners on, just loosening them up. It just depends. If you can get the tuner to spin with it just loose where you can get to the hole, you're in good shape. If not, don't be afraid to take your tuner out, put this in there, check to see which screws are stripped out before you take the tuner all the way off. That way you know if you're dealing with just one or both screws. Usually I find it's just one for me. Put this down in the hole, and then I will take a pair of wire cutters. Maybe you're using wire cutters to change your strings, and clip that off as flush as you can with the wood of the headstock. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to go sanding it down or anything, but just get it close because the screw is going to do the rest of the work. Once you can actually line what's sticking up out of the wood up with the screw hole of the guitar, it's going to actually fit in the little hole pretty much perfectly like the screw would. Then put your screw in, screw it down tight. It's going to be a little tough at first because you're going straight into this toothpick with the screw, but you'll get it down in there and it'll be tight. Your guitar will be in tune. Another thing I did on this guitar, and I hadn't done it for a very long time, maybe ever, because I was pretty happy with the action on the guitar, was I took the action down just a little bit for speed and ease of playing. Maybe you want to go up. You know, Jack White has this thing about having to fight the guitar. And if you take your action up a little bit, it'll give you a little more fight. All you have to do, take your cover off of your truss rod, give it, in my case, I just went probably less than a quarter of a turn clockwise. If you're looking down the neck of the guitar like this, clockwise is going to take your action down. Counterclockwise is going to give you some relief and bring things up a little bit. Those are some tips that you're going to find that really work good on a Gibson guitar. There's other things you can do. I was pretty happy with the bridge on this guitar, but I went ahead last year and got the Music City bridge from Glazer Instruments. Joe Glazer, I think you worked with Tom Bukovac on this. I'm sure many of you probably watch Tom. I do as well. But this bridge, it really changed the way the guitar felt. The string spacing is a lot better. You have a wider gap between your E and B strings because of this. It really changes the whole feel of the guitar. I don't think it's something you have to do on all these guitars, but on these reissue, like this is a 54 reissue, and on vintage guitars, 54 to 60, the one they do is called the stud finder for the vintage guitars. On these reissues, it's called the Savvy, so be aware of that. You can get aged, where it's aged metal, or you can get like shiny new metal. They're really great though. It's worth, even if you don't want to stick with it, if you decide you want to go back to the regular bridge, it's a good thing to check out. It really changed the feel of this guitar, and in ways I feel like it made my playing better. It made the guitar feel more like a modern guitar in ways, just because of that string spacing. And these are the tips that I have that I feel like a lot of people go through these problems with Gibsons and maybe don't know how to resolve these issues without going to a luthier. And getting your guitar in good playing form isn't something to be afraid of. You're not going to hurt nothing as long as you use common sense and you're aware of what's going on and careful with what you do. And a lot of times you can solve these problems yourself. Those are some of the things that I like to do just to maintain my guitar, and right now it's playing better than it has in a long time, just doing those simple things that basically cost nothing to do.